My husband is blind, and this is how he trained to be a guide dog handler.
Yeah. That's kind of funny. That is the correct terminology. It is handler. I am a guide dog handler, not a guide dog owner. There is a distinction. So today we're going to answer a question I get asked a lot, and that is, how did you and Mr. Maple train together?
Yeah, because people asked, did you just buy him? Did he show up? Was he delivered? Did you train him since he was a puppy?
Did a stork deliver him at our doorstep?
Exactly.
And the
The
answer
yellow
is...
Labrador delivery stork.
Yes, only in my dreams.
Yeah, because so many people don't know what is the process for getting a guide dog.
Well, first of all, this is part 4 of the guide dog story, so if you want
You
to
have
check...
so much to catch up on.
If this is your first video, then whoa, just pause for a second and check out these links above us.
I will try to put up a playlist
Okay, oh yeah.
so that you can just tap here and you can watch through and catch up on all the guide dog videos.
Basically, you'll learn how I first applied and that whole process to get us to this point. So, on the previous installment, we were talking about the moment I arrived
The second time.
for the second time, met Mr. Maple, and we shared that beautiful video, that first encounter, that first meeting. And today we're going to basically talk about like my 2 weeks on the Oregon campus.
Oh, and if you want to watch a very short clip, a short of that meeting, you can tap right here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Because that's been uploaded as a short, right?
That's a short. Yeah, that is a YouTube short that people can see. There's a cute little edited clip of that first encounter. So go check that out.
Watch that. It's
Basically,
really cute.
don't even watch this video. We're just here to tell you to watch like 8 other videos instead. Okay, now we assume you've done that. You're back. Let's talk.
Go.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me a question.
Oh, okay. So what was it like training with Mr. Maple? We got to the meeting. You've met him. Now what happens?
Okay, so this is really, really, really important because as our audience knows, I went to Guide Dogs for the Blind early 2021, came home in tears.
Yeah.
I was mismatched with my dog. This occasionally happens. It was a beautiful, wonderful dog, just wasn't the right fit. And so I was heartbroken. And I told you that I started to go on those 45-minute walks every day.
Let's
Mistaken...
not recap the last video. So you've met Mr. Maple.
Matthew,
You're
I'm just trying to
already
say
at GDB.
the reason I'm recapping is simply this. This
Yeah.
this is an important part.
We also covered it in the last video. So they could actually just have watched that.
Let me finish my... Matthew gives me such a hard time when I tell stories.
I mean, we're 4 minutes in. We're halfway through and we haven't even talked about what's happening.
So, Matthew, as you know, I was so heartbroken from my first experience. I had not yet forgiven myself for that whole process.
Until you met Mr. Maple.
Actually, no. It was the first time I got to train with Mr. Maple.
Okay, and when did that happen? Immediately after meeting him?
About 2 hours after meeting him,
Okay.
we packed up into a van, me and my classmates and their dog. We all got together and introduced our dogs to each other first, which was a really fun moment. There was an 84-year-old woman in my class.
Wow.
There was
Good for her.
a 40-something-year-old judge in my class, and then a really nice woman from the Midwest. So like a real spread of generations and occupations, but we were all blind. And we introduced our dogs to each other. It was really special. Then we all packed up and we went to the nearby town to do our first route. This was so exciting. Now, that was the moment when I snapped that harness onto Maple and we hit the road together, me and my trainer. Not the road, of course, the sidewalk. That wouldn't be so good, would it?
Now, had you done any practicing without a dog? Had you gone through any classes? Oh, well, you'd been there before.
Well, I'd been there before.
Yeah, okay.
But yes,
I keep
absolutely.
forgetting.
No, Matthew, that's a good question because regardless if it's your first time or your 4th time going back for a successor dog, everybody has to kind of retrain without the dog first.
Is it like a dummy?
It is a dummy dog.
Did they roll it?
It rolls, yes.
Yeah. So you roll it along,
Yeah.
and is the trainer pulling it?
The trainer's pulling it, and then you have to do like a leash correction and things like that. So you get to practice these common training methods before you get a real dog.
Okay.
So
But now you've snapped the harness on Maple for the first time.
Okay, so fast forward. Now I'm actually with Maple, And it was on that route, on this really beautiful fall day in Oregon. There were leaves scattered all over the sidewalk. They were crunching under our feet. There was this moment. It was like this release of tension and this ease, and my anxiety literally just kind of melted away. And we were just in perfect sync. It was by the third block, I want to say, because it wasn't instant. But by the third block, we were in perfect sync with each other. And the thought I had was, oh, this is what it is supposed to feel like.
Now, do you think having been there before for 10 days helped? Was it a benefit for you to come into the second time?
Oh, yes.
And you weren't like learning the skills and practicing them for the first time.
Right.
You were kind of further along.
It was like brushing up on something that I'd already been studying. So a lot of comfort and familiarity. I was also on the same campus, which I was really grateful for because I just knew the layout. You were really hoping I would go to the California campus for a totally different experience. And I'm like, no, I'm a blind person who really finds great comfort in the same. So I was relieved by that. And
being in a familiar environment would have helped. You didn't have to learn brand new layout.
I was in the same dorm.
In the same room?
Put me in the exact same dorm room.
Okay.
So the layout was identical. And I think we'd requested that, or I had. I just wanted it to be totally familiar. Okay. So yeah, that made it much easier.
So give us an example of a day in your life at the training. What, from morning to night, you have Maple, and now you and Maple are spending every day together, and there was a pattern to them. What was it like?
Okay. So a typical day, and every day, we got a little email which would lay out the entire itinerary of the day, and I would forward that email to you so that you knew exactly what I was going to be doing.
I'd be following along.
Hour.
I'd look at the email clock. Okay, yep, he's doing this right now.
Yes, and it started at 6:30 a.m. and often went to about 8:30 or 9 p.m.
Okay, what happened? What was first?
So I would wake up at 6 just to give myself a moment before I let Maple out of his crate, because we had to crate the dogs.
Yeah.
This was required. They said, when you get home, you can do whatever you want. Your dog can sleep in a bed with you. But while you're here in the dorms, all dogs are going to go into their crates because that is just the protocol. So, and he loved it in there. It was a ginormous crate. I crawled inside myself. I was like, this is cozy. Anyway, so I got up, had a coffee, kind of refreshed myself, and then I woke up Mr. Maple. He grabs his bone, he's doing his little dance all around. I relieve him immediately. And the cool thing about these dorm rooms is our relieving areas were directly outside our dorm.
So every dorm room had a door to the outside.
And it was all on cement. There was no grass out there because guide dogs are trained to go on hard surfaces.
Yeah, with a command.
That's right. That was one of the first commands. You tell the dog to do your business. That is what they understand, and they almost immediately go pee and poo right there on the hard cement. And it's an enclosed, chain link enclosed area, and it was just a pad. And
now I know someone right now is saying, how do you pick up after Mr. Maple? Well, that's there's a video right here. We've answered that. We're showing it all. And I know some of you are typing up that comment right now, but you can just go watch it all happen in all its glory.
You better remember to include all these links. There is a great method for that.
Yeah.
And there was a hose to spray things down afterwards, although staff did that too. So that was the first, relieve the dogs, then feed the dogs. Okay. Then we would go meet for breakfast, and we'd get these amazing cooked meals, and we'd all meet together in the commissary around 7 o'clock. The next thing we did was our first meeting in the fireplace room. We'd all come together to kind of discuss things for the day, the itinerary for the day, any issues people were having. Plus, there would be a class on anything from going to your vet or like taking care of the dog, some sort of grooming thing. It could be on toys. It could just be a kind of precursor for all the different skills we were going to learn that day. So there was about an hour before we all would pack up, get into the vans, go into the town, and actually do these routes. And the routes would last for a couple hours. We'd break, pile back into the vans, go back to the campus, have a lunch waiting for us. And I always had the chef salad because it was so good. And Then, immediately after, we get back into the vans, we go back to the town, we do a couple more hours of the routes. Then we return again, back to campus for another class in the fireplace room or in the library, because like, they had these little rooms that we could go to. And at some point in there, we're getting breaks. I'm calling you, we're FaceTiming, we're talking. And there were little nap opportunities too,
which you did not ever avail yourself of.
I didn't ever nap, but
you were not a napper.
I definitely rested. Like I got to go back to my room and just kind of like relax for like half an hour.
Okay.
So there was like these different little classes. Then we got to do things on the campus. There's this huge play area where you can like it's called a free
fun zone, free zone, free fun zone,
a free run.
Free run.
A free run. And you could let your dogs explore and play games. Guide dogs don't play fetch. Why, Matthew?
Because you don't want to train that instinct into them where they see an object go flying by and they take off, especially if they were on a route.
Exactly. So recall is a game where you have like a little kibble and you and another person, so it would be a classmate of mine or a trainer, would stand at the other end of a field and we just take turns calling our dogs by name. And they'd come racing down toward us, ears flopping and flying, and they'd get a treat. They'd sit and they'd wait for the other person to do the same thing. So it's lots of running back and forth, and they love it.
Yeah.
Mr. Maple loves it.
Okay. What finished off the evenings?
There would be a great dinner, more discussion, and then an evening class of some sort. And one of my favorite ones was called Tea Touch. And it was basically learning how to massage your dogs.
Oh.
Yes, it was like a bonding thing. There was like these very specific ways that, like, say this is the dog's paw, and you take your hand, and there were like these specific ways that you like move the fur counterclockwise, or you could, these different shapes. We learned about like 8 different ways of tea touching, and I don't know what the T stands for.
How many times have you done tea touch to Maple since you've brought him
Matthew,
home?
all the time.
Really?
All the time.
Why am I not invited?
You didn't know, did you?
No, I had no clue.
Often when we put him to bed and you're off, you're already brushing your teeth, and I'm down with Maple, and I will do tea touch on his paws.
Oh.
And he loves it. His little eyes start to get really droopy, and he falls asleep while I massage his little paws. It's really special.
Wow.
You should try it sometime.
We need to do a little short about that. Okay, so that was your day in the life, week 1.
Yes.
While you were there. Did anything ever go wrong? Were there any mistakes, any errors, any problems, or did it just go smooth?
Matthew, you know who you're talking to. Does it ever just go smooth? With me? No. Yeah, some things did go wrong. One thing in particular made me feel so horrible. To this day, I'm like still traumatized by the memory.
Okay, what is it?
We're going to discuss that on the extended episode. I will break down what went wrong and just kind of how I dealt with that.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so Matthew, you know how I was describing every day we would pile into those vans? Okay, if you want to hear all about that mistake that occurred on the Guide Dogs for the Blind campus between Maple and I, the one that we are still emotionally recovering from, quite frankly, then simply go to patreon.com/Matthew and Paul, where you can unlock all of our bonus and extended episodes.
And if you're on YouTube, you can tap right here to go to Patreon, or you can watch that extended video without leaving YouTube right here.
I was so exhausted. I have to admit, like, so exhausted after those long days. But there was one day they brought in a masseuse and gave us all massages at the end of the day. Come on, Matthew. Right now. Oh, yeah. That's the spot.